Good morning, church. I'm not David and I'm not Diane. My name is Lily Formosa. I'm a senior and I'm a part of the student leadership team here at Ingomar. This past summer, Emily Hughes and I had the opportunity to travel to Zimbabwe, which is located in the southeastern part of Africa. And since then, I have not spoken about my trip really formally or my experience, so I decided to center my sermon around my trip and the ideas that were central throughout the trip. Now, before I start, how many of you have ever been to Africa or to an impoverished area? Oh, more than I thought. Awesome. This could be abroad, in another state, or even in a region of Pittsburgh. For those who have been to a place like this, you may relate to me whenever it comes to how generous and how hospitable these people can be. And for those who haven't experienced this, you'll understand shortly. The people of Zimbabwe, they're simply awesome. There's no other way to describe them. These people would do anything just to ensure you're comfortable. I recall from my trip, the first day that we were in the country, or one of the first days anyway, we experienced hospitality in a little community outside of the capital city of Harare, and it's called Goromunzi. In Goromunzi, we experienced awesomely passionate worship. And we also experienced a feast of whatever the congregation could scrape up for us. This was an up-and-coming community, so there was a sanctuary being built, and there were people moving into the area. They made us eat first to make sure we were full before they ate, just to ensure that we were comfortable and that we had enough before they would go through in line to eat. The people of Goromunzi, they didn't have much to share as far as food was concerned, but they shared more than we would think would be feasible. I mean, they basically don't have a lot of food to share. They don't have a lot of things to share, but they shared more than they had, pretty much. And that's really what hospitality is. You may not have been to a place like Africa, but you may have experienced this thing called hospitality. Hospitality, no matter where you are, it's pretty much the same concept, but it's presented differently from place to place. Zimbabweans, their hospitality is through four things. It's through Chibadza, through Ebenezer, through their hearts, and through God's guidance in their lives. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is an Ebenezer? What is Chibadza? It's a weird word, Chibadza. And what do these two things have in common with hospitality? An Ebenezer, traditionally, is a pile of rocks that serve as a marker or point in either your spiritual journey, your literal journey, or it could be both. If you can recall back to the scripture lesson, 1 Samuel 7, 10 through 12, Samuel took a stone and he set it, naming it Ebenezer, and saying, God has gotten us this far. He's gotten us this far in our journey. So Ebenezer's, they seem pretty cool. A rock, marking your journey, marking a spot in your journey. But what exactly are considered to be Ebenezers? Ebenezers, they can represent the times in our lives where we have triumphed above a trial, or it can represent a praise in your life, such as birth, getting a raise or a new job, or something similar. Now that you know what an Ebenezer is, what is Chibadza? It's a weird word, like I said before. It's a weird word. Chibadza is a Shona word that basically represents the act of dropping everything you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter where you're going. You drop everything you're doing to help another person who is working. I remember from the trip, it was like around the first week that we were there, we went to a church called St. Luke's, and it's also a little bit outside of the capital city, Ferrari. And my group experienced what Shabbatza actually is. We were helping them build a new sanctuary. I was kind of in the office making certificates for the project day, but the rest of my team was helping them build the sanctuary. And we weren't necessarily making progress go any quicker. We were helping them, but we weren't necessarily making it go quicker. But you didn't hear the moans and groans from them. Not even whenever they had to teach us how to make simple things like mortar and how to lay bricks. Because we didn't know how to do that. They did, but we didn't know how to do that. Just quite surprising. And Jesus, he did exactly this. He exhibited Shabbatza every time he got interrupted while going to insert destination here. And here are a few examples. In 2 Kings 5, 1 through 14, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem when 10 lepers stopped him, and he cleansed them. In Matthew 19, 16 through 30, Jesus left on his way, and a rich young man stopped him and asked him how to inherit eternal life, which he said to sell all his things and to give his money away for the whole. In our daily lives, we kind of get caught up in the world around us, and we don't take a second to, smell the roses, as they say, or we don't take a second to help someone. I know a lot of us probably drive by someone on the highway that broke down, and we're like, go get help. I don't need to help them today. And we might not help people if we're late for work, or late to practice, or just going somewhere in general. But Jesus helped these people, no matter where he was going, no matter if he had to be there then, that moment, he helped these people, and he never turned any of them away. Now, what do Shabbatza and Ebenezer have in common? God puts obstacles in our paths, some that are big and some that are small. But both types can be overcome if you're willing, because God wouldn't give you something that you wouldn't be able to overcome. That's just not his nature. But for these bigger obstacles that you may face, you may need some help, some outside help. When this is needed, Shabbatza becomes an actual thing, becomes an actual idea that we incorporate in our lives, or that we come to process. Because whenever you can't overcome something by yourself, you end up getting help from your friends, your family, sometimes even strangers, and definitely God. When you need anything vital, there are always people there to help you, especially this church. For I was hungry, and he gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and he gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. These people that help you through the hard times, they end up helping you to create Ebenezers, to essentially mark your triumph through these trials, or to mark these praises in your life. And God's the cause for this. God puts these people in our paths to help us through these situations, or to help us achieve something. Because he's faithful to us, and we should be faithful to him as well. And we should trust in him, even though times might not be as promising as they appear. Through Shabbatza, and through Ebenezer's being placed in my life, and maybe in your lives, we learn the value of hospitality, and what people actually sacrifice for others, rather than focusing on themselves all the time. The Zimbabweans did just that. Not only did they sacrifice their time and their food, like I mentioned, they opened their hearts and their homes to us. Our host families were awesome. They wanted to know everything. They wanted to know about our lives, our loved ones, things that we did, what kind of food we liked. And it was peculiar. They wanted to know how their country was treating us. That's how they worded it. How has my country treated you? They wanted to know if their country was like another home to us, a second home. So I thought that was pretty neat. Now another question. Why are Ebenezer's and having Shabbat in our lives, why is that important to us? I mean, we're Americans. We're the largest power in the world, next to China, of course. And some of you may be thinking, we have the whole world in our hands. Like, we're pretty awesome. But in reality, that's not the case. As people of the United States, we take the majority of life for granted, and we're not thankful for what we have, and typically only care about ourselves. In Isaiah 55, 1-3, it says, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk, without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labor what does not satisfy? Listen to me, and eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. Give me ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you, my faithful love promised to David." This verse, it rings true to contrasting natures of Africa versus the United States. Whereas we spend money on things, these material things that we focus on, that really come far from satisfaction. There's more to each and every one of your lives, rather than money and fast cars and being the popular kid in school or having the best job that pays like $1 billion, like all that stuff. How about love? How about family? How about Shabbat? These riches we long for are nothing but a mirage. When we chase off after the wrong things, rather than internal entities like love and Shabbat and Ebenezer and all these things that I've just mentioned, the material things are found to be unsatisfying, and then they end up leaving like a mirage. We are all a part of a society, some of us even a generation, that is highly selfish. Some people have issues with opening up their homes to complete strangers without wondering why they're here and not somewhere else, or why they're eating my food and not someone else's food, why they're in my bed and not someone else's bed, let alone walking down the street and making eye contact, or saying a simple hello, or smiling. This generation, this society, needs to learn to be selfless and to give. This experience at Shabbat allowed me to discover what being culturally diverse means, and that's kind of like a made-up concept for me. My personal definition of this concept is basically you incorporate parts of different cultures' lifestyles into your own life to take on a new meaning of life. And with the idea of Shabbat active in my life, I am more willing to do God's work, to spread His word through the sense of community that I can create wherever I'm at. The trials I've faced and the praises I've had, I'm able to say that God has gotten me this far and will continue to guide me to creating other Ebenezer's for myself and for others. While on the trip, we were asked what our Ebenezer's were, and quite honestly, mine was finding family in Zimbabwe and finding another home, pretty much, and experiencing their sense of hospitality and incorporating it into my life. Thank you.